Let me start with something you do every single day, but probably never think about. You ping an AI assistant in Slack. It answers, the conversation ends, and next time you need something you have to ping it all over again. It doesn't remember what you talked about last time, and it has no clue what anyone else on your team is working on. But now, there is a new kind of thing. You hand it one instruction, and it goes off on its own, spins up a sandbox, runs code, checks its work, opens a PR, and hours later comes back to report to you. And at the same time, it is collaborating with your whole team, aware of what is being discussed in every channel. What is happening here? In one line, the way you work is shifting from you do it to you delegate it. You go from the person who does the work to the person who signs off on it. I listened to 3 recent interviews. One person selling this kind of product, one looking at the big picture, one whose whole job is throwing cold water. Here is the takeaway up front. Delegation is really here, and you can't stop it. But the more smoothly you delegate, the deeper 2 traps get underneath. First, you stop bothering to check. Second, it never actually understood you. This episode, I'm relaying what these 3 said, and you decide for yourself how much work to put in its hands, and where to draw the line and keep a hand on it yourself. First, let's get everyone straight, where these 3 sit. First, Lamis Mukta, a builder on Anthropic's Applied AI team, went on a developer podcast on July 7th to break down Claude Tag, which they just shipped. A collaborative agent that lives right inside Slack. His job is to show you what handing off work actually looks like on the ground. Second, Nenad Tomasov, a researcher at DeepMind, one of the core authors behind AlphaZero. He went on DeepMind's own podcast and talked through a much bigger picture with the host. When delegation becomes the norm, a whole new economy grows out of it. Third, Danielle Perzik, a cognitive scientist at Amazon's AGI lab on a tech podcast. She came over from academia, where she studied where human intelligence comes from. Her role is to hit the brakes.
One disclosure to pin down. None of these 3 is a bystander. Anthropic sells Claude Tag. DeepMind and Amazon are each pushing their own agents. The claim that an agent can do your work for you points the same direction as all 3 of their paychecks. I'll relay it straight. Just keep the direction in mind.
First, I have to spell out where they really disagree. On the surface, all 3 are saying the same thing. An agent can do your work, and your life gets easier. But listen, all the way through, and they split on one word: cost. Mukta's cost ledger is the lightest. More proactive, better memory. Basically a better coworker, almost all upside. Tomasov admits there is a cost, but he believes it can be managed, as long as a human stays in the loop to review. Perzik's ledger is the heaviest. She says you think you're getting a deal, but what you're really handing over is your own judgment. Same thing, 3 completely different ledgers. Thanks. Let's start with the first chair. The collaboration optimist, the Claude Tag side. Mukta's definition of Claude Tag is straightforward. A proactive collaboration partner. It brings the connectors, tools, and context you're used to in Claude code, plus 2 more things: initiative and persistence. You might ask, you could already ping Claude inside Slack. So what is different? He stresses 3 points. First, initiative. A regular ping is you ask, it answers, and if you don't touch it, it just sits there quietly. Claude Tag will push a workflow forward on its own for a long stretch, then report back when it is done. Sometimes it flips around and comes to you, reminding you there is something you need to handle. Second, memory. It has memory across channels. It is talking to all of your coworkers at once, and that understanding stacks up over time, so it gradually gets the full picture of how your team works, instead of starting from scratch every time. Third, it breaks the old rule where the conversation ends and the context resets to 0. 1. Concrete scenario. The team hashes out the requirements and the bug in Slack, files a ticket in Linear along the way, calls Claude in to build it, and it opens a PR for you to review. The whole chain, it can run end to end by itself. You send it off in the morning, come back at noon, and the work may already be sitting there waiting for your nod. On the memory side, they built a dedicated mechanism called dreaming. The gist: when it is idle, it goes back over the context. It is built up with you and the team, keeps what is useful and tamps down the noise. The way a person sleeps and a messy day gets sorted into a few clean threads. There is one goal. So the next time it comes to you, it remembers the right things.
1. Directional signal. The interviews kept coming back to this. The length of time an agent can run on its own is growing exponentially. Half a year ago, it could hold a few minutes of conversation. Now, it can carry hours of work by itself. That curve is the premise of this whole episode.
Okay, that is the collaboration optimist. Sounds great. You type a line in Slack, and someone picks up the work. Now the second chair, which blows this up 10,000 times. The delegation economy view, Tomasiv. Tomasiv starts by drawing a line. An agent and an LLM are not the same thing. An LLM, you give it a prompt. It hands you back a chunk of text. An agent watches the state of the world, then actually goes and takes an action. He has a metaphor I like. Today's agent still leans on an LLM inside to make the plan. It just has a safety belt strapped on. The key is how your role changes. He says dealing with an agent still feels like chatting with an LLM. But because it handles more on your behalf, your role becomes more like a decision maker. You review and approve. And only once you approve does it move ahead. The host gave a very everyday example. Planning a wedding. An LLM can give you a list of caterers and suggest a few venues, but all the back and forth email is still on you. With an agent, you give it access to your Gmail. It sends all the emails for you, and you go watch Netflix. Right about here, you should be getting a little wary. Tomasiv doesn't dodge it either. Sending the wrong email is possible. So he stresses two things back to back. You have to confirm that what it sends is right. A human has to stay in the process, the whole way to supervise.
This is the line most worth pinning. Tomasiv says every single thing an agent can do. It won't necessarily get 100% right. Just like a person, every action carries some failure rate. Delegation isn't walking away. It puts the words failure rate plainly on the table.
He also noted where things stand right now. The whole industry is pouring the most energy into agents' coding ability. The reason is practical. A lot of complex work can basically be translated into code. Once the code side works, people are freed up to think about ideas and design instead of burning time on repetitive labor. That is why the first place you see agents get to work is almost always writing code. And he takes it further. He says what really matters down the road may not be building one stronger model, but getting hundreds or thousands of agents to divide labor the way human society does. Acting, trading, even negotiating with each other. One of your agents haggling with a merchant's agent, that is what he calls the agentic economy. By then, what you send off isn't just a task. It is a proxy that deals with other people on your behalf. But he throws out 3 questions he has no answer for. What boundaries should an agent act within? Who guarantees it doesn't get fooled by traps on the internet? When 10,000 agents interact at once, what holds the whole system's safety up? C. Even the person most bullish on delegation lands on the same line. A human has to keep watch. So watch what, exactly? The third chair, the cognitive skeptic, Perzik, gives the answer that stings the most. Perzik is a cognitive scientist, and she looks at agents from a completely different angle than the first 2. She has one big claim. Human intelligence is collective, grown into the body and the environment, not just language. Humans are smart, not because any one person is brilliant, but because for tens of thousands of years we've been passing the baton in one collective conversation. So her ideal for AI is actually a positive one. She wants AI to widen that collective conversation and let more people in, not treat it as a science toy locked in a lab. She has a line, "Make AI work for us." It sounds warm, but precisely because she expects so much, she is more wary of the current wave. Following that, she has a cool assessment of today's agents. It can carry on a conversation convincingly, but it has no real understanding of the world. No world model. In other words, it seeming to understand you is not the same as it actually understanding you. So what does she worry about? I wrote her words down. She says human cognition is being underused right now, and AI was supposed to take over the grunt work that isn't worth our time. But the real risk is that if we sink into automation, we waste the bigger value people could have created.
There is a specific term for this: automation bias. It means this: the more reliable a system is, the more the person watching it lets their guard down. And the one time it slips, the person can't catch it. This isn't a new term from the AI era. It is a problem aviation has watched for decades.
So, the three chairs are lined up. One says an agent is a better coworker. One says delegation grows into a new economy, but a human has to supervise. One says you were never really understood, so watch out for going soft. Now there is one more chair, the one that most needs to be heard. Yours. You're not a researcher, not a VC. You're just a regular person handing off work in Slack every day. For you, the truth of this is very plain. The smoother the handoff, the less you'll click in to look. The first 10 times it is right, the 11th time it sends the wrong email, opens the wrong PR, makes the wrong call. The one who takes the fall is you, not the agent. So what does this rhyme with in history? I'll give you 3 different answers. Don't just pick the one that feels good. First, answer. Like in airplanes, autopilot. The term automation bias comes from right here. The more reliable the autopilot, the more the pilot relaxes, and the moment it fails at some tricky point, the person who got used to relaxing reacts a beat too slow. Delegating to an agent is the same structure. Second, answer. Like outsourcing your work. Outsourcing saves effort, but your feel for the details slips away bit by bit. We did the episode about the 3 layers underneath software, and the one about tacit knowledge draining away. Same logic. What you don't touch with your own hands, sooner or later, you stop understanding. Third, answer. Like a middle manager signing off. You approve a stack of documents you never really read. All is calm when things go well, and when something breaks, your signature is on it. Agents turn everyone into that kind of manager. 3 answers, 3 endings. The first, real freedom. It takes the grunt work, and you're freed up for things worth doing. The second, fake freedom. Responsibility quietly settles onto you, and you become a rubber stamp. The third, the slow boil. You slowly lose the ability to take over yourself, and by the time you want to, you can't anymore. Which one happens isn't decided by the agent, it is decided by how you use it. Here is my take, and I'll keep it restrained. Delegation is a real trend. Don't fight it. Hand off the work that should be handed off. It really can pull you out of a pile of repetitive labor. But can delegate doesn't mean no need to look. I'm with Persic on this line. Let AI do the grunt work that isn't worth your time. Don't let it think for you. Hand off the grunt work, keep the judgment. Over the next 2 years, I'm watching one very specific signal. When an agent gets something wrong, does it come to you and say, "I'm not sure about this step. Take a look," or do you only find out afterward that it messed up? The first keeps you in the loop. The second slowly shows you out. The antidote to automation bias comes down to one thing. Don't chase fully hands-off. Always keep the ability to take back over at any moment. That feel, once you lose it, is hard to get back. All right, that is it for this round of relay. How many tasks in your hands right now can you comfortably hand off? And which one are you going to watch yourself no matter what? Get that line clear, and this wasn't a wasted listen. Next round, I'll keep relaying to you.